Good morning, people. So it's been a while since we last talked. Don't worry, it's not you, it's me. I've been very busy with pens. Essentially, my plan of doing all of my pens in small little batches went to total shit, and I ended up doing about 35 pens all at once, which was an experience I never ever want to do again. So next time when I do pens, I'm going to organize it. I know I've said this like 4 times now, but next time, I swear to God, I'm going to organize. It's going to be great. I'm going to maintain my sanity. In other news, you guys might notice that this video production has gotten at least 12% better. I've finally forked out the 30 bucks for a light box, so let's see how this goes. Unfortunately, I kind of fucked up and I got one that was way too big. I mean, this thing, like a small child could live in this thing as a tent. It's ridiculously big. But it lets me do cool stuff like get all my knives out at once. We'll see how it goes. I'm kind of worried the camera's going to freak out and not focus, but we'll see. Anyway, let's talk about knives. So we'll start off with this guy right here. So this is a basic brute design, like no frills kind of a deal. This is basically as cheap as I can make a brute. Simple blade finish, simple handles, simple everything pretty much. We've got an Acer Stonewash blade, swedge, hollow grind. This hollow grind is actually really damn thin. It's almost too thin. It's just on the edge where I consider it still sellable, but not very heavy duty, if that makes sense. Like, you definitely want to use this with a little bit of caution. You wouldn't want to go, you know, batoning through logs and stuff and, you know, cutting bolts and shit like that. But for actual cutting tasks where a knife needs to be sharp, this thing is a fucking lightsaber. It might actually be one of the sharpest knives I've done to date. I mean, you can do pretty much anything with it and it's going to cut. So yeah, very sharp knife. Probably my sharpest yet, as I said. So yeah, I've got this one up on the website, and I've actually, in the listing, I've actually said it's very thin, extra thin grind. So whoever gets it, just be aware that it is very thin. You don't want to go abusing it too much. It's more of a cutting tool, obviously being a knife. But besides the Acer Stonewash blade, we've got grey G10 handles, sort of a line pattern. I heavily blasted it to give you kind of that sort of a layered look, and it also brings out the grip quite a bit, so it's actually a really grippy knife. And with that flat spot right there, you actually get quite a bit of power when you get into that grip. I mean, you can get some serious cutting done when you get into a grip like that. And then a black lanyard, that's basically it. And of course, comes with a Kydex sheath, locks in nicely, and then, you know, standard like all DV blade sheaths, it's all nice and ratted off and comfortable and not unpleasant to carry, as it should be. This one here is also a brute, but you can see it's got a bit of a different blade shape. And that was totally on purpose, 100%. It had nothing to do with the fact that I cracked the blade. So yeah, this is a brute design. Obviously I modified it, and I'm actually really liking this shape. So much that I'm actually going to be doing a couple brutes like this in the next batch on purpose. So that's going to be pretty interesting. So I don't know what to call it really. I've been calling it an S shape, but it's not really an S shape because an S shaped blade really has to have a bit of a swoop here and then a hook. I consider it more of a W grind, like a guy on Instagram said, or like an M grind or something. It's essentially 2 recurve grinds back to back with a little hump in the middle, which makes this thing an insane cutter. Because it's a recurve, it kind of has a tendency to kind of grab and pull itself into the cut. Well, actually, it might be easier to use my finger and try not to cut myself on camera. When I pull this straight back, you can see it kind of goes into this ramp of that swoop once, and that's usually how all a normal recurve would do, but because there's 2 recurves, it kind of does that same effect twice. It's kind of like a soaring motion, if that makes sense. Essentially, it's very sharp, very aggressive cutter. They use this shape quite a lot in combat knives and knives which are made to do terrible things to terrible people, but it actually works really well as an EDC knife. I was cutting some foam and stuff like that, and it really kind of grabs in and cuts really nicely. Now, a lot of you guys might be wondering how easy this is to sharpen, and it's actually not that bad. I thought it'd be a nightmare to sharpen, but luckily, because I put a chisel edge on there, it was actually fairly pain-free. I wouldn't say it was as easy to sharpen as a normal knife would. You've definitely got to, you know, pay attention, maybe use some ceramic rods or something, but it definitely got a nice edge on there with not too much headache. As a Stonewash blade finish, of course. We've got another little flat spot there. And the logo on this wasn't exactly what I was planning. It kind of stuffed up a little bit. But luckily, it kind of matched the micarta on this one because the micarta itself is a little bit multicolored. So I figured, fuck it, let's roll with it. And it actually kind of works out nicely. So yeah, we'll see. If it really doesn't sell and people really hate it, I might redo it. But at the moment, I'm quite liking that logo. So it's staying. Speaking of micarta, this is Brian Camp's micarta. And for whatever reason, I don't know what it is about Brian Camp's micarta, but it has kind of a multi, just like a different colors into it. Like on this one, if you look closely, you can see the peaks are kind of browner or a darker brown than the rest of it. And this one has a darker brown up here and then a lighter brown back here. I have no idea how that happened. This is the same material cut right next to each other, blasted for the same amount, and it just does that. I don't know why. The only thing I can really think of is because it's micarta. It's, you know, obviously made up of layers of canvas, and maybe I got more canvas, like a lump of canvas in this area. I'm not sure, but yeah. Anyway, besides that, we have some aluminium pins, actually Corby bolts, just because I wanted to use them, and it gives it kind of a nice accent against the rest of the knife. It's kind of like a little bright spot against the rest of the dark, fucked up looking blade. And then paracord lanyard, and of course, another little Kydex sheath. Spaced out to give you kind of space for that weird little recurve deal. So there's that guy up on the website. If I haven't said this before, this is all stock for the Melbourne Knife Show. I have them all on the website right now, but if they start selling too quick, I'm going to have to take them off the website. So I actually have stock for the Knife Show, which is like 2.5 weeks away. It's the 5th and 6th of May, and I'll be there. Obviously, I've got a table and everything booked. So if you want to come, you want to talk knives, come to the Melbourne Knife Show. We'll have fun. All right, so that's the Brutes. Next up, we've got the D6s. So these are sort of a neck knife design I do, sort of a neck knife inside the waistband kind of a deal. So we'll start off with this guy. That's a stonewashed blade. This one's got stainless steel pins, which are sandblasted and stonewashed, which actually match the blade really nicely. And then Black Camp's micarta handles with an Anzo pattern. I was mucking around with doing a V-grind blade, so that's a flat grind on both sides. You can see the plungers there, but it's actually got a chisel grind edge. And I purely did this because I was bored. I wanted to just muck around, see how it worked. And it's actually kind of cool. It gives it a kind of an exaggerated front edge, because obviously when you're doing a V-grind, your bevels are going to be bigger because there's only one of them. So that front edge is quite a bit bigger than the standard one. If we kind of compare, so this has got a V-grind, like a V-edge on this, and this has got a chisel edge. You can kind of see the difference in the two. Just kind of cool thing I was mucking around with. And besides that, we've also got, you know, Anzo pattern in the G10, sorry, micarta, and then a lanyard. And of course, Kydex sheath. Locks in really nice and solidly. This one's actually got to break in a little bit, but once it does, it's going to be a rock solid sheath, and it's definitely not going to fall off from around your neck or however you're planning on carrying this. Next up, this guy right here. Same kind of a deal, but as we spoke about before, it's got a V edge and it's also got copper pins. And one of the things that I did on these, which I am really, really liking, is I've kind of done a logo pattern on the spine. So if you look closely, you can actually see on the spine, I've got my logo over and over and over again in kind of a graffiti pattern, like kind of a tagged up, you know, wall or something. I'm really, really liking that because A, it's a nice little feature, and B, it means I don't have to have a logo on the side of the blade. So the blade remains sterile, but you've got all of your logos on the spine, which is really, really damn cool. And I've been doing this quite a lot and a whole bunch of random stuff. So that's that guy. Of course, Kydex sheath. Next up, same kind of a deal. The only difference between this guy and that guy over there is we got OD Green Camp's micarta. Besides that, it's all the same, rounded spine. We got a graffiti pattern on the spine as well, so rounded graffiti, and a nice and comfortable little knife. And of course, these things are all just ridiculously sharp. I actually went back and I sharpened these in the Waterstone, so these got that extra fine edge. And even the tip. If I can do it through the viewfinder. Obviously not, but yeah, nice and sharp knives. So yeah, that's that guy. Oh yeah, and this guy's kind of got like a more of a blended edge right there, just something I was messing around with, so it's less tan-toy, more drop pointy, if that makes sense. Again, another one like that. This is basically the same as that one over there, except I've got a different pattern on there. So while this guy's got an Anzo pattern, this guy's got an Anzo pattern with flattened off peaks, just a little bit different, just make them their own little unique knives. and also it makes you dual wieldable. And last but not least, we have this guy right here with Forest Green G10, because I am on a crusade to finish off this goddamn sheet of Forest Green G10 that I have. Because I bought this big sheet for one order, and I've got so much of it, it's not even funny. Anyway, so yeah, Forest Green, we've got a rock pattern on there, basically done with a 1/4" wheel, so it's nice and tight, and then a rock pattern on the spine, and then I didn't have any Forest Green paracord, so I used red instead. Gives a nice little color combination there. So yeah, that's that guy there. Anyway, that's all the knives, guys. Thanks for watching. We'll see how this looks in editing. I'm kind of worried about the focusing, but we'll figure it out. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. I've got a few more build videos in the works. There is 2 that are going to be done very soon, and there's 1 more that I've been meaning to start but haven't. But anyway, thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you on the next video.